Today, I'll be ranking every troop from worst to best. For each troop, I'll explain why I gave them their rank, as well as bounce changes that squad busters could implement to either buff a weak unit or nerf a broken troop. Much love to everyone using creator code ZAY in the item shop, and let's get into the video. Let's jump into the F tier. These are troops you should avoid at all costs. Don't pick them. We gotta start with Dynamite. Dynamite is an attacker. This means his main goal is to deal damage in squad busters. But the thing is, he has one of the lowest DPS in the game. I think the worst part is that Dynamite should actually shine in squad busters, as everybody's squad is clumped up. So he should be insanely broken, right? Psych, he's trash. I think Dynamite deserves to be buffed. Now, I don't want him to be extremely broken, as it would be really unhealthy to have him this strong in squad busters, easily wiping out everybody's squad. I just think he needs a little bit more damage. Maybe increase his DPS from 90 to 100 and slightly increase his hit speed. That's all. Joining him in the F tier, we're gonna have the Royale King, the guy from Clash Royale. Okay, what an underwhelming troop to have. It's an epic tank that spawns Royal Recruit. They temporarily protect you, but once you leave, but the thing is, they don't follow you around. They just become NPCs that have no use for you. The only buff that I would give the Royal King is that the Royal Recruits actually follow the squad and not just wander off during the game. Moving into the D tier, these troops are not the worst in the game, but if you want to secure a top 5 spot, don't pick these troops. The first troop is going to be Mr. Colt. The iconic gunslinger from Brawl Stars is actually really underwhelming. His damage is fine, but he seems so fragile. Look, his super is really nice because it can pierce through an entire enemy's squad, but his super actually has two big issues. It has a short range and it doesn't last very long. I would probably buff the duration of his super by 0.5 seconds or even 1 second. El Primo is another underwhelming troop in the D tier. My problem with El Primo is why on God's green earth does he jump so far away from my squad? Brother, you are a frontline tank. What are you doing? He's a decent tank, but as soon as your squad busts 5 foes, brother dips out. And most of the time, he doesn't come back. In order to buff him a little bit, I would reduce the time it takes for him to come back to my squad. So maybe slightly increasing his speed. That would probably help him a lot surviving. Let's also talk about Nita. Honestly, for a tank, she doesn't have anything special to her. By herself, she's dog water. And yeah, you know, her bear adds that extra troop, that extra tankiness, that extra damage, but it's not a troop that I'm scared to go up against. I would make her bear a bit more special. Every 5 foes your squad kills, the bear would send a shockwave, stunning your opponent's squad. Moving into the C tier, these are not the most competitive troops to have, but you can still sneak your way into a top 5. Let's first start off with Mr. Goblin. Now, a lot of people really like the Goblin, and whenever I criticize him saying, you know, for a supplier, he doesn't give you too much value. He only gives you that great head start, which I know is really appealing, but I want my suppliers to give me value throughout the game, not just when he spawns. I think he still deserves a bit more love, and for him to truly be a supplier, playing into the fact that he gets you a lot of gold, every kill you get, whether it's a monster or an opponent's squad, you get extra gold. So the buff would be, let's say for every 3 busted foes, you get 5 coins. How about that? In the C tier, we're also gonna have Mr. Bo. Now, you know, don't get me wrong, Bo is a great monster farmer. There are some modifiers where he is really strong, like Pinata Festival or the Mole modifier. Although he's really effective against monsters, my biggest problem on the board isn't some random golem. It's that fusion tank coming straight from my squad. And since he only does extra damage to monsters, and he's relatively squishy, he's really not a great troop to have in your squad. Now, I do like the mines, but I think squad busters should give him a little bit more health, like 100. In the C tier, we also have Wham Bam. Here comes back. I gotta stop with these impressions, man. Look, she doesn't cut it. Pam is like a hybrid healer tank, but she really doesn't shine in any of those classes. A simple buff would be every time her shot lands on a unit or a monster, you would get 0.5 seconds of healing. That would make your squad stronger, and you would have healing throughout the game, and not just when you open a chest up. And lastly, in the C tier, we're gonna have Mr. Mortis. Now, you know, Mortis, I enjoy to have one Mortis, as you can basically recruit monsters and make your squad look all big and all scary, but these monsters are purely just an optical illusion. They don't deal too much damage. Yeah, they're great tanks, but for an epic, Mortis doesn't have that extra spiciness, that extra punch. I really wish you could revive bosses with you. Imagine how epic it would be to have a baby dragon and a golem in your squad. Would that be too broken? Probably. All right, now let's move into the B tier. These troops are the ones really providing you great value for your squad. Let's start with Mr. Greg. Like, why is he in the B tier? Well, the thing is, he simply got outshined by Mavis, who's just a way better farmer. She picks up more gold and more gems than Greg. But the thing is, Greg is a very time efficient farmer. In 3 chops, you can get a tree, get your gold, get your gems, and dip out. I think he's very balanced, but amongst other suppliers, I think he's one of the weakest ones. Either make him give you a bit more loot or nerf that Mavis. But we'll get to her in a second. Another troop joining Greg in the B tier is going to be the Chicken. Definitely an underrated legend. At first, I really hated him. I thought he wouldn't give you any value at all for a common troop. But those 3 turbo boosts for your squad, oh my god, that's some great value right there. I think the Chicken is pretty balanced as he is, but maybe make his hatchlings just have a little bit more health. I feel like they die too quickly. The Witch is the first epic to be in the B tier. Look, she's got high DPS. One of the highest in the game. She spawns skeletons, which are great distraction. I like her kit. When you have her super, you get that skeleton spell, which I don't find to be super impactful, except for just throwing it on a monster to just shred him. Maybe give that skeleton spell a little bit of a stun effect. Just that. Mrs. B is also going to be in the B tier. No puns intended. I think she's a really unique troop. She's the only troop that allows you to deal damage while moving. That's amazing. It's not too strong. I think she's very balanced as she is right now. I love that unique concept. I think Squad Busters should really tap into that. Maybe slightly increase the damage the bees deal. Just that. The battle healer is also going to be in the B tier. What I really like about her is that you pick her, boom, your whole squad gets 400, 600 HP straight away. That's instant value for the rest of the game, which makes her a very, very strong epic. Keep her the way she is right now. And lastly, in the B tier, we're gonna have the Wizard. The Wizard, honestly, Wizard as well, not overwhelming, but he can bring you those extra spells, which can be so handy in so many situations. That double bomb spell, really, really clutch. But I still don't have him unlocked, Squad Busters. What on earth is going on? Just give me the Wizard. But you know, whenever I go up against him, he's definitely a menace to be reckoned with because I know my opponent can pull up 2 spells and I could be in big trouble. Moving into the A tier, we are slowly approaching some of the best Squad Busters troops in the game. And in the A tier, we're gonna have the iconic Barbarian. I think the Barbarian perfectly illustrates the all-rounder class. He's got a decent amount of health. He does great damage, and when he becomes elite, he has one of the highest DPS stats in the game. I think he's a little bit on the broken side, but honestly, I kind of like that. Joining him in the A tier, we're gonna have Mrs. Shelly. She has very similar strengths to the Barbarian. She's very versatile, and she's got her super, which can stun your enemy's squad, and I really like that. It can give you a huge edge over your opponent. You can't go wrong by picking Shelly. Next up, we're gonna have Max. You know, she's the fastest unit in the game. I absolutely love having Max and just running, just straight up rushing people like a brain dead zombie. And honestly, sometimes whenever I pick her, I overcommit and end up losing half of my squad and getting top 6. But I don't think the issue is with Max. I think it's with me as a player. I think she's a strong epic and pretty balanced, to be honest. We're also gonna have Mavis in the A tier. Now, ever since her gem buff, where now every time she picks up carrots, she gives you gems, she's become one of the best suppliers, if not the best. The thing is, I think Mavis is actually quite balanced because it takes a long time to pick up those carrots, but when you pick every carrots up, you get a bunch of gold, a bunch of gems, and it rewards you. It's kind of that you're spending more time, but for more loot. I think she's pretty balanced, maybe a little bit on the strong side. Either nerf her loot a little bit or make Greg a little bit more competitive than he actually is. We also have Mrs. Penny. If versatile needed to be illustrated with a Squad Buster troop, it would be Mrs. Penny. She's got one of the highest DPS out of any game, and she's a supplier. Her chests give you gold, gems, heart, keys. She's the whole package. You gotta cross the whole map to get that chest, but it's worth it, baby. And lastly, in the A tier, we're gonna have Mr. Heavy. Again, the complete package. For a tank, he's a really, really great damage dealer. Insane bursting damage potential, and he can even heal when he's shooting faster, meaning I can basically farm monsters without even moving my Heavy, as all the damage he's gonna take is going to be straight up healed and basically denied by the heavy heal. I love that. I think he's a little bit on the strong side, but these troops, I really don't want Squad Busters to nerf them. I think they're in a good spot. Finally, in the S tier, these are the best troops in Squad Busters. As soon as you see them appear in your chest, you gotta pick them. Let's first start off with the Hoggo Doggo. I mean, brother gives you infinite speed boost. What else is there to say? He's by far one of the strongest troops to have. I think fundamentally, Hog Rider is a broken speedster, and there really isn't any room for other speedsters when you have the Hog Rider. I think he's too broken, and the fact that every time you walk into grass for 3 seconds, you get infinite turbo speed, as well as you recharge that turbo speed, completely broken. I would probably cut that infinite speed boost time in half. For 1.5 seconds, you get that infinite speed, as well as you're recharging that turbo, but nothing else. I think he's just way too broken. Next up, we're gonna have Mr. Barbarian King. Barbarian King is really, really strong as well. One of the things that makes him so broken is the fact that he can increase every melee troop's hit speed. That's ridiculous. I feel like it gives him an unfair advantage compared to every other epic. Just by having the BK, you're instantly increasing your DPS by 10, 15%, and that's ridiculously strong. I don't know exactly the bonus hit speed you get, but I would reduce it a little bit just to make other epics a little bit more of a viable alternative. We also, speaking about the Barbarian King, we're also gonna have the Archer Queen that is going to be in the same dilemma. Really, really strong troop. I mean, she gives you an expo, for goodness sake. I think she's fundamentally broken, especially when you pair her up with units that have a slow hit speed, like the tank. Archer Queen becomes a menace because she increases every ranged troop's hit speed. I would also tone that a little bit down to give a bit more room to other epics. In the S tier, we're also gonna have the Trader. I think Trader's also kind of fundamentally broken. He's the only supplier where you can get a lot of value without technically farming. You can kill monsters, kill other people, and get a fountain of gems. That's ridiculously strong. Like, one of the most satisfying thing with the Trader is when you have Doppelganger and you just get a fountain, a river of gems. That's ridiculously strong. I would probably increase the amount of coins you need to get that 3 gems from 15 up to 20, just to make him a bit more balanced inside of the supplier realm of Squad Busters. And lastly, we've got the ultimate, the golden S tier troop in Squad Busters, Mrs. Tank. Insane damage, insane health. She basically has 2 lives, as you need to break through the tank and her human form. Yeah, she's got a slow hit speed, but when you have that Archer Queen, that isn't a problem anymore. One of the most ridiculous things, and when the tank is fused, you can pretty much get really close to one-tapping squishy units, which is ridiculously strong. I think she's way too versatile, and Squad Busters would either need to slow down her hit speed or decrease the damage she does, because she's just way too broken, way too versatile for a rare troop in Squad Busters. Let me know down below what you guys thought about this tier list, if you agree or disagree with some of my rankings, and also let me know if the balance changes I proposed that would make Squad Busters more balanced, or I would just either kill a unit or make a troop ridiculously broken. And if you want to check out another video I did, here I show you the best unit for each class.